All right, meanwhile, Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula has outlined the main discussion points to be tackled at the National Taxi Lekgotla. The Transport Ministry has launched the Taxi Lekgotla public discourse platform today, which is due to take place in October. It aims to have the public engage with the industry on issues, including the future of the taxi industry, as well as compliance with tax and labor laws, as well as regulation. The South African National Taxi Council was present at the launch, and the spokesperson of SANTACO, Thabisho Molelekwa, joins me now live via Skype. Thabisho, good afternoon to you. Always good to have you here on the show.
Good afternoon, Palesa, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Thank you so much for coming through. So let's just get your take on the public discourse that was launched today regarding the Lekgotla that will be held in October.
The public discourse basically is to initiate the discussion between government and the public at large, be it commuters, be it expert or opinion makers, basically on how they envisage the future taxi industry. And this is, of course, a build-up to the National Taxi Indaba planned sometime later in the year. So SANTACO was there to give support to the initiative, primarily because we've been in constant engagement with the government, in particular the minister, on the same subject. So we warmly welcome it. We believe that it's time to now relook at the taxi industry and be able to align it to become a better player in the public passenger transport landscape.
And I think the buzzword, Thabisho, has been regulation, the regulation of the taxi industry itself. What's your take on this? We had SANTACO president on the clip there saying that they want what he calls limited regulatory power. Talk to us about this.
Look, maybe it's important to indicate that we have welcomed the National Taxi Indaba with all that it brings to the table, including formalization and regulation. And part of what the president of SANTACO indicated today was the issue around the long-held request by SANTACO to government for government to give the industry some limited regulatory powers. And the reason for that has been that government alone is not able to effectively regulate the taxi industry. And this is why, and part of the decisions that the government has made really has achieved the opposite results, often seeing themselves play out in a form of taxi violence and so on. So this regulated power, the limited regulatory powers that SANTACO requests is to enable the industry to self-regulate, to be able to self-discipline and assist the existing regulations of government and give it teeth in a form of day-to-day management that will be done by the taxi industry. Because at the moment, it becomes difficult for the industry to take drastic measures against an operator whose bad decisions have led to, say, by way of example, a loss of lives of innocent commuters. So we want some way of being able to say, for instance, in that case, we are able to say we suspend the operating license, or we even revoke the operating license, subject to the processes that may follow. And this is really the reason why we seeking those limited regulatory powers.
And we do know, of course, that the taxi industry commands a turnover of billions of rands annually, and it is also a major contributor. It's the only transport business, of course, that also employs an estimated 600,000 employees who are mainly lower and semi-skilled workers. That's, of course, contributing hugely to government's poverty alleviation program. Many are also of the view, Thabisho, that more could be attained, more could be achieved, more could be done by the industry once formalized and regulated.
Absolutely. And this is what we are taking really to the taxi indaba that is planned for later in the year, to say with the billions that the industry gives to various sectors of the economy, insurance, financing and manufacturing, we want to become now equity players in those sectors to ensure that we are able to reinvest back into the industry. We are even able to create more jobs for the South African public, particularly those people who cannot get jobs anywhere else because of their educational background and so on, who are largely employed in the taxi industry. So we believe that indeed more can be done, but with formalization, there must be empowerment that comes with it to ensure that the taxi industry is able to be part of the mainstream economy of the country. And this is why we argue that if a government integrates transport services, they cannot integrate transport services without integrating ownership, because we believe if you are to integrate public passenger transport without integrating ownership, you would really be leaving existing small players to continue to enjoy the economic spin-offs, much to the detriment of the taxi industry. Therefore, if we are well empowered, we are able to diversify properly, we are able to spread our wings and create even more opportunities for young, disadvantaged communities to also participate in the economy.
I must say that you've got other taxi associations who are sort of ahead in terms of formalizing the taxi industry. We've just had a report out of Rustenburg in the northwest, where 6 long-distance taxi associations in Rustenburg have formed what they call the Rustenburg Long-Distance Transport Holdings, as part of trying to formalize the taxi industry. So some taxi associations are already ahead in terms of the plans to formalize and regularize the taxi industry.
Part of what we have done last year and the year before, we have been creating or setting up cooperatives on our own as part of trying to create structures of beneficiation for the taxi industry, and much as we have done this to the taxi industry, but integrate and possibly collapse our structure into the beneficiation model, depending on how discussions and negotiations go in the taxi industry, into the model that may have been presented by government, because at the end it's going to be give and take so that we are able to reach a mutually acceptable agreement for the benefit of the taxi industry. So Rustenburg is no exception. What we will then do, we'll take all these structures in their small and large scale and see how best to align them to what will then become the national agenda of beneficiation for the taxi industry, to ensure that we maximize beneficiation of not only the taxi industry, but in the main, the operator on the ground who's got only one taxi that gives livelihood to him or her and their families.
All right, so we often have you on different platforms here, the SABC, and when many people saw you for the very first time, they were surprised to have such a young person in the industry saying, so today we have the special focus on the taxi industry here on the SABC News channel. A direct question to you, Thabisho. Why did you have the interest as a young person to get into this industry?
The first thing that I want to make clear, I'm not in the taxi industry because I do not have anywhere to be employed. I'm here by choice. I'm here because I'm passionate about this industry. And I'm here because I really want to give my own contribution into this industry. Many young people who go to school, graduate, always look at other industries to see how best to utilize their skills and expertise. I've been here trying to find myself. I'm now here to try and contribute, my skills to the industry. And I think one has made strides, and the industry has accepted me, and we continue to move. In fact, part of what we also want to achieve is to make this industry the employer of choice, where young people, young brains, innovative brains would then see the need to invest their talent into the taxi industry, because at some point the industry will be competing against technology. But unless there is proper planning and succession planning to that effect, the industry will be lagging behind with all its economic muscles that it has. If it does not plan for this eventuality, it may experience serious challenges. So I'm quite proud to be here, and I will continue to be here for as long as I've got the energy and make my contribution to it, and I believe I have so far.
Oh, all right. So it's not something that runs within the family, as you say. You're there by choice. Thank you so much.
Here by choice.
You're there by choice. All right. So we wish you everything of the very best, Thabisho. So thank you so much for coming through. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's Thabisho Molelekwa, SANTACO's spokesperson, talking to us about the Taxi Lekgotla that will take place on the 29th and the 30th of October this year, where broader discussions will be heard regarding the formalization and how to regulate the taxi industry.